Okay, guess what? Today we've got Igor Shaltanov, right, from Southern California with us. Igor, thank you so much for joining the Income Flip. I appreciate you, my friend.
Rob, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I love interviewing the entrepreneur, right? I love interviewing, especially entrepreneurs that were athletes before, because I didn't share this with you. I was a D1 college athlete in college, and so I was pretty intense in sports, and I'd love to learn a little bit about how somebody that competed at a high level even got into the world of real estate. But before that, tell us, you're from Russia originally, is that correct?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The background. So it's interesting journey because I was born in USSR. It was still USSR, so I was not probably unconscious still, so like 10, 11 years old. And the transition from USSR to the new Russia was just amazing. So it was tough. It was a really, really tough journey. And my mom was a doctor, and the father was policeman back then. And he would leave when the civil war, when the civil unrest will be going in the city, right? And he will leave, and I don't even know if he's gonna show up back home because you just turn on TV and like it's bombing and the tanks are shooting and the people like, and that was a pretty fun time, right? Back through like 90s, 91, 92. So, and uh, the biggest thing is there's no YouTube channels. There's no financial education channel. There's no gurus. There's no Tony Robbins speaking right in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
Moscow. So it was really the time of what do you want to do with your life and opening opportunity for the West, right? And going abroad and really experiencing different things. And for me, it was a sport. So that was my way to get out, right? And to really understand what is going on in the life of world.
Igor, how did that impact you when you were little, going through all that social unrest? Like, what are some of the things that you kind of took out of that? I'm curious.
I think there's, I mean, quite a lot, right? There's a bunch of things, but the biggest one probably in sports and the background, never give up. Like they would never give up. Like whatever happens, might be really really tough. Stay focused, never give up. You might do little steps, tiny little steps, but it can be towards your goals still,
Hmm.
right? That's one thing. Resilience, yeah, that's another one because you know it's bombing, shooting, a lot of emotions, right? And you got to be very tough internally. You might be soft outside, but internally really really tough. Another one, and quality of education, quality of your teachers. That's a huge one as well. It's still very impactful to my days, right? When you choosing the mentors, like what type of quality, internal quality of that person, right, and then external quality of their achievement to the life and blah blah blah. So yeah, those are a couple things.
Igor, share with the audience what your sport was. What did you do?
So I play water polo, which is super weird sport until today still. And uh, the joke is it's like a failed swimmers, water polo players. Yeah. So that was no different for me. And then like maybe I was like 12, 11, 12 years old, and I started to skip practices to the swimming. I was swimming since 7 years old maybe or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, he skipped one, two, like a week, a month, and we got to do something. And she talked to my dad. It was probably like emergency meeting for family. She talked to my dad, and she was like, you know what? Let's do something which is like he's not gonna lose that advantage, right? Because like
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a while, right? And she's pretty fast swimmer. I was like, yeah, and then he was like, oh, I got, and he was actually working on the another side of Moscow. So we were living on one side, and then was like on another side of Moscow. And he said, I got my um, core worker. He's like connected to water polo world, and that's how I got into the water polo. So I failed my swimming classes and lessons, and performances and meets and stuff. I was really good actually, but then like just stopped, lost my interest. I would say because I need the people and the ball. Like give
Hmm.
me something, but I need people and the ball. I can't compete with myself like consistently. I can for a little bit, but not consistent. So anyways, and then I started water polo, And actually I started pretty late. I was maybe 12, 13, probably 12, and then I made it all the way through the army. That was a big thing, because otherwise you're going to go through regular army. So I was serving army as a sport athlete. I was still traveling the world serving army. That was one thing. Yeah, we had like a special blue passport for people who's actually on the government work, and we would travel all over the place. And then that was the first achievement. The second achievement was I made it to the Russian national team. I was part of the Russian national team, so I was competing at the highest level with Serbia, Croatia. So we traveled all over through the Europe, right, some Asia as well. And the last part was I was just in the club team, so which is again all over the world. People will be invited to play in Russia, because back then 2000s it was like the barrel cost a lot of money in the country internally, right? We got pretty good economy back then, right? And then people will be invited to really make money to play in Russia, like a women basketball, water polo, right? Volleyball team. So, and that's how I met actually I told you a story before. So the two ever played American guys in Russia. So the Adam Wright, he's the head coach of UCLA right now, like a 4-time NCAA champion. So, and then the Ryan Bailey, he's a commercial real estate broker in Long Beach, so 20 miles from me. So, and those are the two connections I made in Russia, and then they helped me a lot when I moved here. So,
got it. Well, I would imagine like what a good place to pick, Southern California, right? Coming from Moscow to Southern California. I mean, that must have been pretty eye-opening for you as well. Like how did that whole transition happen? Like what was your brain like? I'm moving to Southern California, right?
That's a great question. So that's a great question, Rob. So I'll start with my wife, because that's transition as well. 2005, sorry guys. 2005, we met in Turkey with my wife. I'm competing for water polo team, national team, and she's competing for women basketball team. So, and then I'm gonna cut short. So we start to date together. So, and all of a sudden she said, "You know what? My brother is drafted by NBA team." Ooh, what is that NBA? I know a little bit, not a lot, right? Drafted. The word drafted, it was like, it's like coming from the moon. I was like, what's that? He's drafted. But he said the last word was Los Angeles, California. Never thought about America, moving to America or doing anything. So, anyways, so 4 years forward, I quit my job. I was a lawyer by trade, the second job, not second education, not job. And then I was working as an assistant judge in court, in Russian court. It was a whole of experience as well.
Wow.
I quit my job. It was too much. And my wife, we just built a house in Moscow region, right? And it was tired in summer, so because we were working through maybe 5-6 months nonstop with a child on hands, right? And we're like doing like pouring the concrete and building the house, so it was a lot of fun as well. And because of that all impactful event, so she said, "You know what? Let's take a little break. Let's take a break." And again, having this syndrome, right, of not doing enough, I was like, yeah, okay, I did enough. I built a house. I quit my job. That's might be a good time to really take a break. And we bought a ticket to Los Angeles, California, November here, January back to Moscow, right, to start a new life again. And I'm flying in, so just imagine November. It starts to snow. It's maybe about -10, so not -10, -5, -2, maybe like a 0, maybe a little bit up above 0. It's Celsius. I'm talking about Celsius, not Fahrenheit. But it's really cold. It is cold. It's not fun. It's a dark. You wake up, it's dark because it's just a short day, right? The sunlight as well, very very short span. So and then you go back from work and it's dark. Like you just live in the dark, like 24/7. And all the office time, that's where you're going to experience a little bit of sun from the window, if the cloud is favorable that day. So, and then imagine all of that, and we just landed in El Segundo, right, in LAX airport of Los Angeles. And the house they bought was in Manhattan Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Manhattan Beach Pier, and I'm walking down the hill, and I have a goosebumps right now. So
yeah,
it's like a goosebumps all over the place. I was like, nobody told me. I felt like I was cheated for life. I was cheated for life. I was like,
yeah.
Nobody told me you can live like that. You got all the and in Russia, like if you like, let's say you're a millionaire, or let's say you have a little bit of money, right? It's a Mercedes Benz, and you got like a whole bunch of stuff on you, like crap, like you got Rolex and gold and stuff. And I see the guys, they're like in the sneakers, right? I don't know, like 5-year-old sneakers and the shorts and the t-shirt, and they making a deal. So I was like, oh my goodness, like for me, it took me about 3, 4, 5 years to really erase the hard drive. The one I had, like completely, like I was like, oh my, like every single day I was like, oh my God, it's like the life is different, like it's completely different, you know, what I was thinking, what I thought, what was taught to me, right? It's not, it's not true, like at least, like at the minimum, right? It's not true. There's another way to do that. There's another way to live and enjoy the life, right? And raise your kids and tell them something different as well. So, and that was my transition. So when I landed, I was like, oh my God, I want to live like that. If I'm not gonna accomplish anything, I'm gonna be the happiest person in the life by being here.
Well, I can feel that, by the way. I can sense that. I can feel that. I would imagine, right? When you don't know any better, like it's just like that's what like is like. And then you realize, wow, it's a big world. I can live any way that I want to live as long as I have the ability to dream and take a chance, right? Like you moving, like that was a big that was a big mental leap, right? Like you're leaving what you know to something completely unknown. So
Really
there,
scary as well, though.
yeah, I see a lot of that. So let's fast forward. Like, how does this water polo playing person from Moscow, who shows up to LAX and decides, you know what, there's another way to live. Like, how do you get into this wonderful world of real estate and raising capital and doing deals and like, how does that story unfold?
It's a great story as well. So hard to imagine, but real estate story started still in Moscow. So I'm 12, 13, 14, and we standing in the middle of our, I don't know, front yard. How do you call it? Like it's apartment buildings. There's 4 apartment buildings. I live in on the skirts, I would say, in suburbs of the Russia and Moscow, not Russia. And then my friend, and we again, it's summer, beautiful day, right? My friend goes back down right from his apartment, and then I meet him in the front yard, right? And we're like, oh, what are we gonna do? And he said, you know what? I'm gonna go pick up cash from people who live in our place. I was like, what does that mean? That was a complete shock. So, and I was like, oh, well, you guys have another place? Like, my idea was you have a place, you live there, you die there, that's it, right? So you never move, you never do anything. So you never do anything like somebody tells you you're the bad person, right? So put it that way. And that was my brain. And then he's telling me, so he has another place, somebody's living in that place, and they pay money for that. And that was like first ever shift of my mind. You can actually do that. So that's possible. So here's a life proof that's possible, and they actually pay you money for that. So when I became a little bit stronger financially, I would say, and I play water polo already, so we make a lot more than we need to spend every day, right, or every month. And my wife plays basketball as well, so it's a lot of expenses are paid for, and you travel a lot, so you don't, unless you doing some not smart things with the money, it's very hard to spend all of it, very hard. So, and that gets me going, saying, okay, what's the next step after that when you have more than enough? So you probably should be doing something with that. And it was not an investment, it was for me like a saving, like where I can put my money. So I save, I don't buy a car, I don't buy jewelry, I don't buy like some shiny things, right? And my mom had an apartment. The system was in Russia, if you work long enough, they give you apartment as part of the payment. They will give you apartment. Like
That's
in
interesting.
20 years, for example. Like you work for a government 20 years, and one of the appreciations will be like, you get the space, boom, you got it. And that's what happened with the first one, and then the second one happened as well. And then she got two of them right at the same time. And I was like, oh, I remember that idea from back then. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
like 14 maybe, and that was 20 years old, maybe 21. And I tell my mom, and she's like complete denial. So, oh, we're gonna live in both of them. We'll be doing something. Blah. No idea what to do with that. And I said, listen, I heard, I know, I see that, I saw that. I don't know. I was like so excited. And I was like, let me fix it, because both of them were like in a pretty bad shape. One of them like a
Mm-hmm.
brand new, just the concrete, complete remodeling, right? The other one just old and need to remodel as well. And what I did, I actually said, let me do this. I'll remodel the brand new one, which is concrete walls, and make it nice place. And I move you guys there because you deserve it. Like you live 120 years in one place, and it's not probably the best place. And this is a brand new building, a lot better amenities, closer to the downtown. So basically, I fixed it. I moved them there. It took me about 6 months to talk to them. You got to do
Mm-hmm.
that. You deserve it. You're really good. So you've been doing so much. There's so much that's closer to your work and blah blah blah. And they were like, "Oh, we like our old place. It's a nice park. We know the people around." I was like, "That's all good." But and then anyway, 6 months. Boom! I moved them over there. And then it took me about 2 3 days to fix that old place to a little bit better condition, just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better. Nothing fancy, nothing special though. And we go out on the market and we get two young guys who's working in law firm, different jobs, separate incomes. Now I understand it's even better, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
split that payment for apartment, and that payment equals salary of my mom.
Wow.
So and basically what happened, the shift,
Wow.
mental shift happened, right? So from
Mm-hmm.
working every single day from whatever 9 to 5, 9 to 7, you name it, right? To it's a free and clear place, right? You don't own. There's no
Mm-hmm.
mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to the people paying you the equivalent of your monthly salary. So that was the first shift, and
Mm-hmm.
but again, because of that background and and education and stuff, so I would say lack of financial education. Right? My mom was still saying, "We're not doing the right thing. We're not supposed to do it." And then, but for me, it was just absolutely, aha moment. I was saying, "Yeah, I need to get more of these things, just more. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
What if I get 10? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't need to physically be present, because again, playing sports, it's a physical, it's like 100% physical, 500% mental thing, right? But again, your physical body will really, your result will depend on your physical body a lot, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
was my first a little bit of understanding. I'm not going to be, and again, when you're 20, it's hard to understand, but again, I'm not going to be forever, right, playing sports, and what's after that.
Yeah. You learn. Yeah. You start. Well, good for you for thinking that at 20, right? That hey, there's a shelf life of an athlete, right? And that I need to transition my body to my mind, right? Because that's kind of the journey. You go from your body to your mind. So when you went to California, was it this water polo playing friend that was in commercial real estate that got you into thinking about real estate? Like, did you just decide, hey, I had this idea, or did you, you also had a law background, so were you thinking you were like, what did you do for work? I guess is what I'm asking. When you came to the States, how did you start making money for your active income?
Great question. Yeah. So the timeline was, so we moved in, and again, that it was a lot of help from my wife family, because they had a house already. They hosted us for a time being and stuff like that. But then her brother actually got cut very early, so really early. It was like 1 year and a half. He was in the league. And the rule was, so if you go through the third year, so the pension will kick in, and usually it will make anything they can possibly do to cut you early, so they don't get this liability, financial liability on that. So, but anyways, they help us a lot. But in November we came in maybe December, we said, it was just a dinner, right, the round table dinner, and then one of the managers for family said, "Why are you guys coming back?" And she asked just one question. So and we're like, look at my wife. She looks at me. I quit my job. okay, we just built house, whatever. Who cares about? We got a couple cars, and like, there's no. I don't see a future of myself in there. And then she was like, I'm neither. So, and then we said, okay. I called my mom next day. I said, listen, I'm not coming back. Sorry, you're not gonna see me and the grandkids for a while. But again, that's the decision with me. It was a pretty tough one. But it was 2009, right, November, and then in 2010 in March, we get the green cards already as extraordinary athletes because we played on a high level. And I would say probably February we got the green cards. In March we opened the business. In March, it took us about 3 months. So for the year, I'm talking about from January to March, we opened the business, and the business was a basketball academy for kids.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we had the athletic background, I was not playing basketball, but my wife was, and her family, all of her family was absolutely basketball. Her brother was NBA affiliated person, so it was a very, um, it makes sense to build the marketing around that and build the
Sure.
business around that. And her dad was the coach for a lifetime, and he coached the brother, so who made to NBA. So we formed that business model, and it was like exploding. Year one was like pretty slow, and then it started to explode. Like we opened one location, two locations, three locations. Me, I never worked because my childhood dream was playing basketball. I was watching in 91, 92. I was watching on like a black and white small TV. It was only one time a week in Russia will be on Saturday morning, early morning, like at that time. I was probably 6 in the morning, maybe 7 in the morning. They were airing the Chicago Bulls games with Michael Jordan. And I was like watching every single time. I was like, man, that's insane. That's something like the piece of something unbelievable in there. So and it was my dream sport. And from 2010 to 2015, I never worked a day because I was doing like something fun. I was always part of and coaching kids. And my first education was physical PE teacher and coach. And I tried that once, but I understood I cannot sustain my standards of living or my quality of living if I'm going to be doing that. But I really, really love working with kids. And because of that fact, when we came in here, and I was a lawyer, remember, so, and I hated every single day. So it was like every single day the grind for me to go to work and do that, the paperwork. So working with people was a lot more beneficial. It was kids 1,000 times more beneficial, right? There's the energy and all that exchange and stuff like that. So anyways, I never worked for 5 years. I was like coaching and doing and training them. So if we focus more on basketball, I focus more on like performance and mental aspect. A huge aspect is mental as well, right? When you're working with kids. So, but from 2015, as the business grew, right, and we broke the $1 million, for example, right, and it became a business. And now my mental shift was you can enjoy, but you got to enjoy a different aspect. How to grow this, and how to become more sophisticated, right? How you lead the employees, right? What are the systems in your business? Can you sell it to somebody? How much are you going to sell? What's a multiplier? What's an equity? And I was like, oh my God! Now I'm going into it's. For me, it was like a different life, another like cut, and we start the new life again, right? And okay, where do you get? Do I need to go to MBA school? Do I need to go different courses? Financial education, and this is like propel my, I would say, personal development, like a personal internal development, and I start to become really the business owner. It's a bit more boring, but a lot more exciting from the financial reward standpoint, and and I start to really immerse myself into how to become a very sophisticated business owner and exit in the future. So I'll stop.
Yeah, yeah. You went from doer to owner. Like we always talk about in my business, like we take people from agents to owners to wealth builders. That seems to be like the transition, right? So you started like thinking like an owner, which means I'm no longer exchanging time and money, right? It's systems and processes, right? So how did you make this transition into Avista Fund, right? Like how did all that come about?
Great question. So because of the cash flow from the business, and not to mention I was always living beyond my needs. It's always, right? No exceptions, right? Still to this day, so I can't do this, I can't do that, and I can, but I can't like mentally, right, for
Yeah.
myself, because again, that the mindset, and uh, that spare income again, the cash is flowing, and you're like, what do you do with that? How to become more sophisticated with your cash flow, but because what I was doing in the first stages, I was multiplying that. Remember the system I learned in Russia? I was buying
Mm-hmm.
2, 4 units, another unit. So I was buying something which is not, not in good condition. Nobody wants to buy it. Maybe market shifts, maybe some emotional shifts and stuff. And every time opportunities pop up, one of the examples, right? The currency exchange will double in Russia. Meaning, so for $1, you can do 2 times more.
Wow. Wow.
What I do is just transfer money there and buy, instead of one apartment, I'll buy 2 apartments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I learned it the really nice way, because the market will take an adjustment within a year or two. The currency exchange rate will take an adjustment within a week or 1 month.
Got it.
So you can be really in that pocket of psychology. People are still adjusting. Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
way too expensive, or it's a way too low. I'm not going to do that. It's risky. And I will tackle that immediately. I was like, okay, transfer money, boom, buy it. So, and I was buying, some of them was in the beginning stages when they still develop the building. So they will develop the building by apartment there. So, and it takes about 1 to 2 years to fix it, to finish that apartment building. I will remodel that, rent it to the people, and we can, enjoy it. And it was all cash, no leverage, right, back there. So I multiplied that to 7 of those pieces. I got 7 different properties. My mom was managing those. Very simple, easy. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
calling you like California. That was my future. I'll tell you the story. So, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to buy something in California. And then 2015 was the first year when I just started to enter the U.S. market, and I bought the house. And my idea, my model was in mind the same. I'll buy something which is not nice, I'll fix it, right, and I'll rent it to the people. But from apartments, I'll go into the houses, right? Let's start to do, because I don't know what I was. Bigger pockets was a huge influence, but
Sure.
it was retail and single family, majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
There were some pieces, the guys were, oh, I own 3,000 units. It was like over my head. I was like, don't talk to me, man. I'm not there. So I'm still like a 5, 6, whatever. And I was like, oh, my brain will shut down that part completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was still, okay, single family, yeah, it's possible, right? It's close, I can do that. So I bought that house, remodeled that. It was absolutely trashed from outside, a little bit better inside. So they put an addition there, a couple thousand square feet, $500,000, and remodeled that. And it took me about probably 6 months to remodel the thing. It took me about 2 months to put the people in place, right? Because the market was not super hot, not sexy, right? It was a long time. I remember that was a long time always to replace the tenant. And that's another eye-opening moment. I was like, okay, single family. I put 100,000 into remodeling altogether, maybe a little bit more. And I was like, okay, that's a capital intensive. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be all in there. Number 2, you got to be present full time.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the key. You guys remodel whatever you want. So it's like, doesn't work. It doesn't. I don't know why. So, and the lastly was, oh, I'm paying the mortgage every time when somebody leaves the house.
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage, your own mortgage, this mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there's liability mounting, and the idea was always the same. What if I multiply by 10? What happens? Yeah, and then do I want? And the second question was, do I want to multiply by 10?
Yes. Yes. That's a good question.
That's because again, for me was let's take a real life experience. Let's not. You will ask people, but once you go through that experience, you know exactly what it takes, right? And in 2017, I thought, okay, you know what? That's enough. Single family, play that game pretty good. If I scale it, I don't see myself doing that.
Yeah.
What else? And was the moment I said, okay. I started to ask my mentors through the business development. I was like, what do you guys do? I don't see you own like 100 single family houses. They said, oh, we own apartment buildings. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, tell me more. I'd go, again, 20 seminars, books, read, podcasts, right? I get into the commercial academy. Was a Scott, I forget his name. Anyways, I started to go to different masterminds, different groups. Brad Somrock was the other one, like in the beginning stages as well. So those are really good people to really start to engage with apartment complexes to understand what is that model about. And that same time, I'm walking on the streets and I'm looking at every single apartment complex in California where I live. I live in Encino back then. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, I want to buy, how can I buy this, how can I buy that? And I think it was like 2018 or 19, it was a new year, and it was a group of friends. You know, there's one of the traditions when you just put the wish on paper, you burn it, and you pain, right, and you drink that champagne glass. And I'm writing down, like literally writing down, I want to buy apartment complex, burn it, put it in the boom. So, but those two discrepancies, one, like any apartment complex in my area, 10,
So expensive.
easy, like 20, 30, 40 million dollars. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, yeah, I earned that wish, but I gotta make that happen somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't know who and how, but again, so it comes through the syndication model. I was like, syndication model. Even the word of that thing is like super weird. You know, weird. Sounds like a scam, right? It doesn't work. Very skeptical. So what does that mean? But then, by that 2019, I think it was 20 or 2020 maybe, I owned like a through syndication model, 3 different apartment complexes. It was like the smaller ones, like a couple million dollar, like one in Virginia. So we got one apartment complex we part of in California, actually 2 of them, 2 different ones. So I didn't own the whole thing, but then my mind started to shift. I was like, why would I own this thing? Like, why would I do operations? Why would I be the manager? Why would I do this? Because I was having my own experience. I said, I don't want to deal with that. There's a cheat code. For me, it was like once I started to go deeper into the system of syndication, and I was like, man, you can run that whole thing if you want to, no problem. Yeah, get the syndication going, get this, get that. I start to really understand the pieces. So the general partnership, limited partnership, there's a lawyers around that, right? There's a property management company, so there's anyways, and you could be like a bank financing, right? You could be involved in all of those pieces at the same time. Or you could choose one avenue, like you like financing more, you like finance those things, okay, do that, right? You can really segregate, you can really separate them, really find yourself in a niche of this thing. I'll stop here, right? So that was my first idea of syndication and how it works.
Is that where you started discovering, hey, I like the idea of raising capital. I like the idea of that piece. Right. Yeah. Like, and it's interesting that you say that because I think as real estate investors, as we go through this journey, right, as entrepreneurs, we start tasting things and discovering, like, what do we like? What don't we like? Like, some people like owner financing. Some people like sub-twos. Some people like multifamily. Like, some people love, storage and fixing and flipping. And it's like, there's something that resonates. And a lot of it resonates because of your background, resonates with what you saw, maybe some people around you, but also your personality type. Like, your personality type plays into it. So it sounds like you kind of fell into this, like, I want to raise capital niche, right? And like, why? Why do you think you were like, oh, I like the idea of raising capital?
Great question. So the first idea was I would love to be an investor, because again, you remember myself, so it was always test it, like go through the whole thing, and then you will find out. So, and until today, I don't know why, but this is for me always the proven model. So you're not going to be thinking or maybe extrapolating or maybe guessing, right? But you know exactly what it takes step by step, and then you can choose. So and we went through like maybe in 2 years, we went through 10 10 deals, for example. Like right now, in more than 20, but we went through like 10 deals, and for us was okay. So states, let's diversify by different aspects. One of them will location, right? What the state will be the most favorable. The second one, the management group, like we want to diversify by management. And the third one was by asset class. And in 2020, I met my partner. So, and we like sitting. I just backtrack a little bit, but it's very important as well, piece. So we sitting at the mutual friend house, right, and we drinking some tequila and stuff like that. And he was like, "What is your dream?" "I want to own an apartment complex." He was like, "What is your?" And I'm asking him back, "What is your dream?" "I want to own an apartment complex." "Let's do it together. Let's do it." And like,
You're like half a bottle into the tequila when that came up.
yeah. And we got, let's do it together. We formed the company like next month, maybe. So he still lives back there, right, in Russia. I'm talking about back then, and I'm here. So, and because of the real estate background, and he owns multiple units in Florida, right? And like, yeah, let's do it together. So, and after that, so like I said, we went through like a tens of different deals just to test that model, just to see what works. And we said, you know what, but let's do that. So we're doing really good for ourselves, but let's keep in mind, so for the future, it's going to be the fund for the people who can leverage our experience, our real lifetime experience, right, going through that thing. So because we're in a favorable position when we have a time, attention, all right, and focus to do that right now. But just imagine how many people have no, let's say, time to do that. They just don't have a time. You're working, let's say you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a policeman, right, and you're working 9 through 5, right? There's only so much energy left, right, after that, and it takes an extra effort, extra something, right? I don't know, maybe stimul, right, to do that, because we're in a favorable position, we'll do that, but then with intention, it's going to be fun. I don't know how many years from now, and that's exactly what we did, and we start to really understand what are the companies are doing, how they do that. What are the best ones? Okay, what are the asset classes that are working better? Where's the most risk in the system? What type of asset class is not performing, right? What are the most secured investments, right? What are going to be the best ones to perform right now, and then in a downtrend, and then in an uptrend, and that was just the thinking behind that, and we start to really connect. We create the extensive database of 500 different syndications, because another challenge was when we start to do that, so there's no database. There's no database where you can say, oh, you know what, there's a spreadsheet with all the syndications in the United States, and you can choose and this is the green area where it's the really good ones, and this is the red area when you don't want to probably touch them, where it's touch them. And this is exactly what we start to do. We start to really explore the market.
Interesting.
The Wild West, right? And from there, and again, going back to the fund, right, and connecting to the fund. So we always had that idea in mind. So by the time we finish deal number 20, right, we're going to be ready to roll it to the people. So we're going to be ready and confident. And I have an internal right for myself to sell, to offer that option to the people, because I went through the whole experience.
Yeah. You. I mean, it was your research phase, right, to kind of figure it out. So I'm curious, what is the thesis to Avista Fund? Like, what's the thesis? Like, what do you guys focus on?
Yeah. So the thesis was in the beginning and right now as well. So I was saying to my partner, can we become a better operator within 2 years? No way. There's 20-year experienced guys, like 15-year, 10-year experienced guys, right? You can't even compete with them, right, in the beginning stages, right? But my idea was, can we shift from one manager or from asset class they focus on, because what we were doing, we were really choosing the laser focus operators. We're doing multifamily Midwest. That's it. We're not touching anything. And for me, that's a professional, right? That's the person who knows exactly what they do, and they present on the market, they connect to local government, construction company employee, blah, blah, blah. So they have a long track record of doing one thing. But then the problem was, what if that one thing is not performing, or they maybe deepen down? For example, multifamily the last 3 years or so, right, a couple of years. And now, are you still like placing your capital? Are you still saying to your investor, so let's do that? No, that's fine. It's gonna just weather out, right? And the idea was how we can shift fast. The thesis was, so if we can choose 5 different really strong operators who niche down in their market, niche down in their product, specifically in the product, right? Example was, and now it's a real life example. When multifamily start to go through the phases of, oh, you know what, it's not a good deal, the prices are still a little too high, nobody wants to come down on the price, you know, the purchaser is saying, you know, it doesn't make sense, the numbers doesn't work. So we said, okay, what can we do better? So we said, okay, let's do a land entitlement deal. You have a great operator. We don't want to touch when the multifamily was nice and working well and numbers penciled out. So, but then when the time came and the multifamily was a little, I would say, just like stress, right, situation. So we said, let's do no leverage. And because of the bank financing was adjusting as well every week, every month. So we said, let's do the no leverage deal, which is again, the land entitlement. There is no construction period. There's no construction risk there. There's no leverage risk there. There's a local government connection risk and the time frame risk, but it's a lot better than just buying non-working multifamily right now. So we shifted, because we established that relationship way before, we shifted to that side, right? And our thesis was to find a market, to find an asset which is performing really, really well. Maybe there's possible downtrend of any of them, right? But we can shift really, really fast to something which is working right now and place that capital to our investors, and they're going to be happy still.
Yeah, so you're essentially almost creating like a mutual fund, right? But for asset classes, location classes, picking your operators, hedging your risk, right? Probably paying out your.
That was the biggest part.
Yeah, you're hedging your risk. Where, out of curiosity, I'm in Virginia. So where in Virginia did you invest into one of the buildings? I heard you say Virginia at one point. Do you remember what part of Virginia?
That's, when you asked me that question, I just lost that right away. So it's next to the Navy base, the
Navy Yard. Okay, Fort Belvoir.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
If you would ask me, it was out of the podcast, maybe I'll remember, but yeah. And it was actually, by the way, it was one of the best performances, right, as well, because the guys that was the Navy, the fun story, the principal of the company were still in Navy when we invested with them.
Sure.
But because I serve Army, right, and then I work with a couple people who serve in Army, I said, listen, Army teach you one thing, just do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, exit. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And they were doing exactly what they thought. They were doing step 1, step 3. So we got it. It was 48 units. Half of them was boarded. Like clearly boarded. Like 2 of them was burned out. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of value add. There's no thinking. Like you just remodel this thing and just immediately put the people in place. Immediately it will get like boom. And that's exactly what happened. So I forgot, still don't remember the name of it.
Was the person that led that John Rubino? Does that ring a bell? Okay. John Rubino is just ex-Navy. He raises a lot of capital. He raises a lot of capital for different projects all over the DMV area. Good guy. Oh, actually, all over the country now.
So the name of the project was Sunnybrook Apartments.
Sunnybrook Apartments. Okay, very cool. Well, Igor, so what is then the goal? Like you're building this thing, right? You've tasted as an investor. I've seen the trajectory. Like there was a mind shift change. There was growth there. There's belief systems, identity you had to adopt, right? Like a new identity, and you're now a capital raiser. Like, what's the goal of all of this?
It's a great question. So there's a passion goal, which is non-material, right? And there's material goals. So if the passion goal, and again, for me, it's like working with the kids it's from emotional standpoint, you can't get, and again, I'm speaking for myself,
For
but
yourself.
you can't get more fulfilled after you just show little Johnny how not to fail, right? It's incredible. He'll remember that for a lifetime. So when I'm going to the games, NBA games right now, people come up to me, and again, because we opened business 15 years ago, right? So people come up to me and say, "I'll remember you," and they will step down from multiple rows and say hi just because they feel appreciated, like they feel like they got something. So this is beyond material rewards. It's a way beyond material rewards. Because my son is 15 right now, and I'm driving thousands of miles every weekend. Like he's 6'5" at 15, so he plays
Oh, wow.
pretty well. So, and why I'm saying this, because I meet the friends or the kids I coached a long time ago. And the one story was there's two brothers, younger and older one. So, and I'm connecting to the goal of Avista Fund, and he comes up to me, and then I met his dad first, and he comes up to me, and they didn't speak, dad and the son, and he said, "Oh, you know what? Thank you for doing that a long time ago for me." And he called his brother, who's supposed to pick them up, and the brother telling through this little brother saying, "Don't let him go. I want to talk to him. I want to park the car and talk to him. I'll be there in a second." And he comes up to me and saying, "Thank you for doing this. Because of that, I play basketball now." I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And I didn't expect it. Again, it's been like a long time. I haven't seen it for 7, 8 years, and I'm not in operations. I'm not doing that business at all right now. My wife running the whole thing. So, but because of that non-material reward, so it's just insane. It gives me goosebumps every single time, and that's probably what you're doing. That's why you're working hard, right? So for Avista Fund, going through that experience, when I started doing this, and I'm doing this right now, I feel like every single person investing in apartment buildings. Like when you go out on the street, and I feel like everybody knows about it. But the reality is 99% of the people will never do that in their life. Maybe more than that. So they will never have an idea, they will never have access, they will never understand what's that. They're going to be scared enough not to do that, right? But when you test it and you know it works, non-material thing will be, how can I convert people saying, so it is working, it is possible. It's not what just the government or everybody set up for us, right? The stock market and some mutual funds which has grown by 2% one year, like down by 10 next year, and then by 20 up next year. So it might be stable, more stable. Yes, maybe it's more risky, but it's way better off you're going to be in 20 years if you do this and the syndication model together, right? When you just focus on one thing, and you're going to be just in the stock market and you pension for a 1K. So, and the other idea, so you're not going to be able to catch up with that inflation, right? And the dollar evaporating in value every single year. So basically, letting the people, educating the people, getting them into that system, that's my passion project. Because I feel like I can help them. Like I want to force them a little bit to help them. So, and this is the passion project. And from the standpoint of the material thing, it's just the passive cash flow immediately, no brainer. Because I was thinking always, business. Again, this is how I became more financially independent than before. But again, this is very, very risky environment. So it's my work really well for 5-10 years. And the great example, we look at how many companies still in the stock market who just entered 200 years ago, right? Like 150 years ago. Not a lot, like 1, 2, and they changed the names, or maybe it's 0. I don't know how many. Even I need to do research on that actually. So, but anyway, so what I'm saying is, so the idea of passive income is huge, because you're not going to be able to work as you work at 40, at 30, right? Let's say at 50, at 60, or you're not going to be able to sustain, but you need to be able to get this income coming in, right? So because you're going to be watching your grandkids playing sports, right? You're going to be like supporting them going to college. You're going to be, I don't know, traveling for yourself. But really, for me, financial independence, it's a ability to make your own choice. It's really be free on your will. So what do you want? You wake up in the morning and what do you want to do? You want to do your passion project, or you want to get into the grind of I need to survive, right? And being on that passion side, that's my idea of passive income. That's why I'm doing the fund as well. So because I want to be on a passive, I want to do what I want to do, like, because again, in my thinking, there's a lot better chances to succeed when you're doing something from your heart, right? Than just,
Yeah.
grind.
Yeah, I talk about when you can actually create profit, your passive profit, and connect it to purpose, and you can align those two. Then it goes back to like the conversation you and I had in the beginning, where you're like, I don't feel like I ever work like a day in my life because I've connected my profit and my purpose, and and they're synergistic, right? And so the more that anybody listening in here can connect those things to a bigger purpose, like, some of the ideas, Igor, that I have is like, as you build this fund, it provides more resources. You build a school, you teach kids financial independence and literacy, and like there's like, you start a podcast, there's like so many different ways to be able to connect the dots, right, in this business, which is what I love. I love building mental frameworks, and as soon as I started thinking about, well, what is the mental framework of what I've built over the last 20 years and what I see other, people build? And I'm like, well, there's this thinking. Level one is this thinking that I have to like adopt, right? Glass half full, glass half empty. Like the way you think determines a lot of your outcomes in life, right? And then you got to learn how to make money. So you got to learn how to create like money to pay your bills. And then level three is like, well, how do I convert that into an actual business where the business is working, hard, as hard as for me as I am for it, or even harder? Is it working harder for me? Then like level four is about really investing. Like you take the money that you're making, kind of like what you did with basketball, and then you start really investing on purpose to generate cash flow, right? Then level five is about leadership, because nothing really happens unless you grow as a leader. Your business will always be held down by your leadership lid. So it's doing leadership on purpose. Level six is once you understand leadership on purpose, once you understand investments on purpose, once you understand business on purpose, you can actually start scaling businesses, right, into multiple locations or multiple, theses, because you know how to delegate better. And then level seven is impact. It's like, what is the impact along the way? What's the big impact that you've kind of connected your business to your bigger purpose? And as anybody listening to this is thinking about that just becomes like a journey that you're on. And I by the way, Igor, I hear that journey in your story, right? Like I could see it unfold through, my framework, and as you continue on that journey, like that impact piece, and that, what you're doing with your fund and your passion, like they'll become more aligned, and you'll be like, oh, now we get to do this, at scale if you want, right? So
Ideal for me will be like converting the basketball business into complete nonprofit and support it. So for because I can tell from it's not the most affordable, right? The after school activity. But because of the channel, if you think through California, right, we have 3 basketball teams, 3 NBA teams, right? So the NBA will be the channel for the people to watch and see where I want to be in the future. So for the kids, it's going to, like, I don't know, next 10, 20 years, it's going to be a huge explosion, right, of this NBA. I don't know if you've seen, like, the franchise for NBA franchise will grow, like, almost double every year, right, an amount of listeners, watchers,
Interesting.
Leaders and stuff like that. So there's a couple of days ago, the Cowboys, the football team, the valuation of that franchise is $10 billion right now. It's the first sport franchise. And again, I'm talking about sports in general, right? The first sport franchise ever to go over $10 billion. $10 billion though. And
that's crazy.
WNBA last year, double the amount of people watched that. Double the amount. WNBA, we just never thought about that.
Igor, I've got we're gonna wrap up our podcast right now, but I've got some connections to kind of put you in touch with. What part of California are you in right now?
What do you mean? In LA?
You're in LA. You're in LA. Okay, perfect. Okay, well let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up with a quick question. If you could give your 20-year-old self advice today based on your journey, what would you have them do differently?
Stay focused. Don't chase the shiny things.
What's the one thing that you're gonna do? Right. It's hard when you're young because it's like you gotta taste things, right? It's like
I could be on my journey a lot younger, but I need to test it all.
Yeah.
I would put it this way. I would if I'm not gonna test it, I'm gonna be still regret. So what if there is a lot better? So.
Our journey's our journey. That's how we look at it. But sometimes we look back and say, man, if I had done this younger, sooner, better, faster, but like that's just part of our path. It's what makes the secret sauce too. Well, Igor, thank you so much for joining us on the Income Flip. I appreciate it, man. And like everybody, anybody listening to this, Igor, if they want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? Right? What's your website?
Very simple. It's avistafund.com. You can go to the website. You can download the ebook, which is winrealestategame.com. Again, coming from the sports background, win real estate game, and it's a game for me still.com. And lastly, just Igor at avistafund.com. You can shoot me an email. We'll be happy to touch with you guys, please.
I love it, man. Easy enough. Thank you, Igor.